Eleanor Wright looked out the small window of the shuttle as it approached the massive ring structure floating in space. The Galactic Council headquarters was huge. It looked like a giant silver donut with thousands of lights blinking across its surface. Eleanor took a deep breath. She never thought she would be here, representing all of Earth. 10 minutes until docking, Ambassador Wright, said the pilot. Eleanor nodded. She smoothed down her simple blue suit and checked her tablet one more time. 6 months ago, an alien ship had appeared near Earth's moon. The world had gone crazy, with fear, joy, and wonder. The aliens called themselves the Arcturians. They said they came in peace. They told humans that a whole community of alien races existed out in space. They called it the Galactic Council. The Arcturians had invited Earth to join this council as a probationary member. This meant Earth could attend meetings but couldn't vote yet. Eleanor, who had worked as a diplomat between countries on Earth for 20 years, was chosen to represent humanity. "We are now docking," announced the pilot. Eleanor put away her tablet and stood up. Her stomach felt tight with nerves, but her face remained calm. This was her job. She would not show weakness. The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss. 3 aliens waited for her. 2 were tall and thin with blue skin. These were Arcturians. The third was short and round with green scales. Eleanor didn't know what species this one was. "Welcome to the Council headquarters, Ambassador Wright," said one of the Arcturians. "I am Guide Zren. We will take you to your quarters. The council session begins in 3 hours. Eleanor followed the aliens through clean, white hallways. Many strange creatures passed by. Some had too many arms, others had no arms at all. Some floated instead of walked. All of them stared at her. Humans were new here. Her room was small but comfortable. As soon as the door closed, Eleanor took out her secure communications device. She needed to talk to Earth. "This is Ambassador Wright. I've arrived safely," she said. The face of President Garcia appeared on the screen. "Good. Remember your instructions, Eleanor. Listen more than you speak. Learn everything you can about how the council works. Don't make any promises." "Yes, Madam President." After the call ended, Eleanor reviewed her notes again. The most important item was the Resource Allocation Treaty. The Council wanted Earth to sign this treaty. They said it would help Earth get alien technology. In exchange, alien companies would be allowed to mine resources in our solar system. At first, it had sounded like a good deal. Earth would get advanced technology, and the solar system was big. But something didn't feel right about it. The Council was pushing too hard for Earth to sign quickly. 3 hours later, Eleanor entered the Council chamber. It was a huge room, like a bowl with seats all around. In the center was a platform where speakers stood. Hundreds of different aliens sat in the seats. Eleanor found the one marked Earth and sat down. A tall, purple alien with 4 arms stood on the center platform. "This meeting of the Galactic Council is now in session. First item, welcoming our new probationary member, Earth." Eleanor noticed how many aliens were whispering to each other and looking at her. Not all the looks were friendly. The purple alien continued, "Ambassador Wright of Earth, please stand." Eleanor stood up, feeling all eyes on her. Earth has been granted probationary status for 1 Earth year. During this time, they must demonstrate their commitment to galactic cooperation by signing the Resource Allocation Treaty. "Ambassador, do you have anything to say?" Eleanor cleared her throat. "The people of Earth are honored to join this council. We look forward to learning from all of you. Regarding the treaty, we are still studying it carefully." A large alien with red skin and a crest on its head stood up. "I am High Counselor Vrax of the Zeliax Confederacy. Earth has had the treaty for 3 months. How much more time do you need? Other new worlds sign within weeks." His tone was not friendly. Eleanor kept her face calm. "Earth has many nations and governments, High Counselor. We must reach agreement among ourselves first. We ask for patience." Vrax made a sound like a snort. "Primitive political systems should not delay galactic business. We expect a signature by the end of this month." Before Eleanor could respond, another alien stood up. This one looked almost like a cat walking on two legs. I am Ambassador Talshir of the Merciless Alliance. Perhaps I can help our human friend understand the benefits of the treaty better. Would you join me for a private meeting after this session? Eleanor nodded. I would be glad to. Back on Earth, in a small office deep inside the Pentagon, Reeves stared at his computer screen. Kyle was an intelligence analyst assigned to the alien contact team. He had been reading through all the data the Arcturians had shared about other worlds that had joined the Council. Something wasn't adding up. Hey, Olivia, look at this, he called to his colleague. Olivia Daniels looked up from her desk. She was a xenobiologist, studying alien life forms. What did you find? She asked, coming over. Kyle pointed at his screen. These are the reports for the last 5 worlds that signed the Resource Allocation Treaty. Look at their mineral exports before and after. Olivia's eyes widened. They increased by over 500% in each case. Yeah, and look at their economies. Kyle clicked to another screen. They all became totally dependent on the Council for food, technology, everything. These aren't partnerships, they're colonies. Olivia sat down. We need to warn Ambassador Wright. Kyle nodded. I'll prepare a report right now. But I'm worried. The Council controls all communications to their headquarters. Will they even let our message through? We have to try, said Olivia. If Earth signs that treaty, we'll lose everything. Kyle started typing his report. Eleanor, Wright needed to know the truth before it was too late. The fate of Earth might depend on what happened in the next few days at the Galactic Council. Eleanor slipped into a small alcove in the hallway before meeting Talshir. She quickly checked the message on her secure communicator. Her eyes widened as she read Kyle's warnings about the missing species and the true nature of the treaty. The part about biological sampling confirmed what Talshir had told her, but there was more. Kyle had also found something about ancient council laws. He'd discovered an archive of the original council charter, written thousands of years ago. These old laws still existed but were rarely used. One was called the right of evidential challenge. It allowed any member to present evidence of unfair treatment by the council. Eleanor's mind raced. This could be exactly what Earth needed. But she had to be careful. First, she would meet with Talshir to learn more. The cat-like alien was waiting, in the same meeting room as before. His tail swished back and forth as Eleanor entered. Ambassador Wright, he said smoothly. I hope we can reach an understanding today. Eleanor sat down. I'm always open to honest discussion. Good. As I mentioned before, your species has unique genetic traits. The Merciless Alliance would be willing to offer Earth special status if you sign the treaty. Better terms than other new worlds receive. What kind of special status? Eleanor asked. Protection from heavy mining. Limited sampling of your population. Perhaps even a faster path to full council membership. Eleanor kept her face neutral. And what would the Merciless Alliance get in return? Talshir leaned forward. Exclusive rights to the genetic sampling. The Zeliacs wouldn't be involved, so there was a power struggle between the two dominant species. Eleanor could use that. That's an interesting offer, she said. But I need time to consult with my government. Talshir's ears flattened. Time is running out, Ambassador. High Counselor Vrax has called for sanctions against Earth if you don't sign within 24 hours. Sanctions on what grounds? Non-compliance with Council directives. It's within his authority. Eleanor stood up. Thank you for your honesty, Ambassador Talshir. I will consider everything you've said. When she returned to her quarters, Eleanor spent hours studying the ancient laws Kyle had found. The right of evidential challenge had only been used twice in the Council's long history, but it was still valid. If she invoked it, the Council would have to let her present evidence. She worked through the night, preparing her case. She organized all the data Kyle and Olivia had sent her. The exploitation of other worlds, the missing species, the hidden clauses in the treaty. She practiced what she would say until she knew it by heart. The next morning, Eleanor entered the council chamber, with her head held high. The room was packed. Word had spread that Earth was refusing to sign the treaty, and everyone wanted to see what would happen. High Counselor Vrax stood at the central platform, his red face even darker with anger. "Ambassador Right of Earth," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The Council has been patient, but that patience has ended. You will sign the Resource Allocation Treaty now, or Earth will face sanctions." Eleanor walked to the central platform. She looked calm, but her heart was pounding. "High Counselor," she said clearly, "Earth respectfully declines to sign the treaty in its current form." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Many species had never heard of a new world refusing a council demand. Vrax's eyes narrowed. "Then Earth will be isolated. No trade, no technology, no protection." Eleanor stood tall. "Before you declare sanctions, I wish to invoke the right of evidential challenge." The chamber went completely silent. Vrax's mouth opened in shock. After a moment he found his voice. That is an ancient provision. It has not been used in 2,000 years. "But it still exists in council law," Eleanor said firmly. "I have checked the charter. As a member of the council, even a probationary one, Earth has the right to present evidence of unfair treatment." A very old alien with pale blue skin and white hair stood up from a seat near the top of the chamber. "The human is correct," he said in a shaky voice. "I am eldest Cree of the archives. The right of evidential challenge remains valid council law." Vrax looked like he might explode with rage, but he couldn't argue with the archivist. "Very well," he said through clenched teeth. "Present your evidence." Eleanor nodded to a human technician who had accompanied her. The young woman activated a device that connected to the council's display system. "Honored members of the council," Eleanor began, "Earth has studied the Resource Allocation Treaty carefully. We have also studied what has happened to other worlds that signed it. What we found disturbs us greatly." The first images appeared on the huge screens around the chamber. They showed beautiful green planets. Then the images changed to show the same worlds years later, stripped of resources, polluted with alien mining operations covering much of their surfaces. "These 5 worlds signed the treaty within the last century," Eleanor continued. "Their resources have been stripped at a rate 500% higher than what the treaty claimed would happen. Their economies have collapsed. They are now completely dependent on council aid." She moved to the next set of images. "Even more concerning are the worlds that refuse to sign. According to records we obtained, 3 species declined the treaty in the past 500 years. The screens showed 3 different alien races, none of which were present in the chamber. Where are these species now? They are not represented here. In fact, they seem to have disappeared from all current council records." Eleanor looked directly at Vrax. "What happened to them, High Counselor?" Vrax's face had gone from red to purple. "This is outrageous. Those species faced internal problems. The council had nothing to do with their difficulties." Eleanor held up her hand. "We also discovered something else." She nodded to the technician again. The screens now showed the fine print from the treaty appendices. Sections were highlighted, in red. "The treaty gives the council the right to mine not just uninhabited planets in our system, but Earth itself if critical resources are needed. It also allows for biological sampling of our population, with no limits on the number of samples or how they would be used." The chamber was in an uproar now. Many species were shouting questions. Some were looking at Vrax and Talshir with suspicion. Talshir stood up, his fur standing on end. "This is a misunderstanding. The sampling is for medical research only." "Then, why isn't that specified in the treaty?" Eleanor asked. "And why was this section hidden in appendices that weren't initially provided to us?" An alien with multiple eyes and tentacles rose from their seat. "I am Ambassador Grohl of the Xylorian Collective. We signed this treaty 80 years ago. Were we subjected to the same hidden terms?" Other representatives began to ask similar questions. The chamber grew louder with angry voices. High Counselor Vrax slammed his hand on the platform. "Silence! This session is adjourned. The council will investigate these accusations." But Eleanor wasn't finished. "There is one more thing." She said, her voice cutting through the noise. Earth has established direct communication with 12 other worlds who have been pressured to sign similar treaties. Together, we propose a new framework for cooperation, one based on true equality and transparency. This announcement caused an even bigger reaction. The chamber was in chaos. Vrax's face was now almost black with rage. Tal Shir was hissing at his aides. Other council members were talking frantically among themselves. Through it all, Eleanor stood calmly at the center. She had done what she came to do. The truth was out. Now the real negotiation could begin. As she left the platform, many representatives approached her, asking questions, offering support. Some seemed afraid, others hopeful. Earth had just changed the balance of power in the Galactic Council, and no one knew what would happen next. In her quarters that night, Eleanor sent a message back to Earth. Challenge successful, treaty rejected, new negotiations beginning with multiple species. Send diplomatic team as soon as possible. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had made its mark on galactic politics, not with weapons or advanced technology, but with something just as powerful, the courage to stand up and say no to a bad deal. 3 weeks had passed since Eleanor Wright had shocked the Galactic Council. In that time, everything had changed. Today, she stood outside the council chamber, preparing to enter for what might be the most important session in centuries. HFY War, you ready, Ambassador? Asked eldest Cree, who had become a trusted advisor. Eleanor nodded. As ready as I'll ever be. She wore a simple blue suit, much like the one she had worn on her first day. But she was not the same person who had arrived at the council station as a nervous representative of a primitive world. Now she walked with confidence earned through difficult battles. The chamber looked different too. The seating had been rearranged. No longer did the Giliacs and Muraden occupy the most prominent positions. Now all species sat in a true circle, with no seat higher than others. As Eleanor took her place, she looked around at the faces of allies and former enemies. The past 3 weeks had been filled with drama, danger, and finally, triumph. The Giliacs fleet had indeed been sent to blockade Earth. But before they could arrive, Eleanor had revealed Tal Shir's evidence to the full council. The recording showed Vrax ordering the destruction of the 3 missing species who had refused to sign the treaty. It showed him discussing plans to do the same to Earth. The council had erupted in outrage. Many had suspected Giliac's corruption, but this was proof. Under pressure from dozens of species, the council's security forces had arrested Vrax. The fleet headed for Earth was called back. In the following days, more evidence emerged. Records of bribes, secret deals, and threats. The Giliacs Confederacy's grip on power had crumbled almost overnight. Now, a new council was forming. One built on the original principles from 15,000 years ago. Equality, respect, true cooperation. The meeting began as eldest Cree took the central platform. His ancient voice was stronger today. This special session of the Galactic Council will now begin, he announced. Our first order of business is to vote on the new council charter based on our original founding principles. Screens around the chamber displayed the new charter. Eleanor had helped write it, along with representatives from 20 other worlds. It banned forced treaties. It required fair trade. It created systems to prevent any one species from gaining too much power. We will now vote, said Cree. One by one, the representatives pressed buttons at their seats. Eleanor watched the count rise on the main screen. 60%, 70, 80, until finally, it reached 95% approval. Only a few Giliacs loyalists voted against it. The new charter is adopted, Cree announced, to cheers from around the chamber. Next came the vote for the new council leadership. No longer would there be a single high counselor. Instead, a council of 5 would lead, with members from different regions of the galaxy. To Eleanor's surprise, her name appeared on the list of nominees. She had not sought the position, but her actions had inspired trust. When the votes were counted, she had been elected as one of the 5, the first human to ever hold such a position in galactic politics. As she stood to accept the role, Eleanor thought about how far humanity had come in such a short time, from first contact to council leadership in less than a year. All because they had refused to accept an unfair deal. After the ceremony, Eleanor returned to her quarters to make a call to Earth. President Garcia appeared on the screen. "Congratulations, Eleanor," said the president. "You've made history today." "Thank you, Madam President. But there's still much work to do. The Geliacs may be weakened, but they're not gone. And we have to prove that this new council can actually work." "How is the mood there?" "Hopeful," Eleanor said. "Many species are excited about the changes. Even some of the Miradan, like Tal Shir, are supporting the reforms." "And Earth's position?" "Strong. Our alliance now includes 32 worlds, controlling nearly a third of the galaxy's trade routes. The technology sharing has already begun. We received the plans for faster-than-light engines yesterday." The president smiled. "And no one's mining our solar system without permission." "Exactly," Eleanor nodded. "We get to develop at our own pace, with fair trade partners." After the call ended, Eleanor looked out her window at the stars. She thought about Kyle and Olivia, whose research had made all this possible. They were on their way to the council station now, along with a team of Earth's best scientists and diplomats. Kyle had been promoted to head of a new department focused on galactic intelligence, while Olivia was leading the new scientific exchange program. 20 alien scientists had already volunteered to visit Earth and share knowledge. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Tal Shir. "Council Member Wright," he said with a small bow. "May I speak with you?" Eleanor invited him in. The Miradan looked different now. Less proud, more thoughtful. "I wanted to thank you," he said, "for not revealing my role in providing the evidence against Vrax." "You took a risk to do the right thing," Eleanor said. "That deserves protection." Tal Shir's whiskers twitched. "I have been thinking about what you said in your first challenge, about fairness, about dignity for all species. My people have forgotten these values. We let power and greed cloud our judgment." "It's not too late to change," Eleanor said. "The Miradan can be part of building something better." "That is what I hope." He nodded. "Which is why I have been chosen to lead the Miradan delegation to Earth, to learn from humans." Eleanor smiled. "We look forward to learning from you as well." Later that evening, Eleanor stood in the observation deck, looking at the vast spread of stars. Among them was Sol, Earth's sun. Too far to see with the naked eye, but she knew exactly where to look. Eldest Kree joined her, his ancient eyes following her gaze. "It is remarkable," he said softly. "In all my centuries, I never expected to see the Council return to its true purpose, and because of such a young species." "Maybe that's why it had to be us," Eleanor replied. "We're too new to accept that's just how things are. Too stubborn to take a bad deal." "What humans call stubbornness, others might call principle," Kree said with a small smile. "Your species has much to learn about the galaxy, but perhaps the galaxy has even more to learn from you." Eleanor thought about the message she had sent to Earth after her first challenge to the Council. So much had changed since then. What had started as a simple refusal to sign an unfair treaty had led to a complete reshaping of galactic politics. And it was just the beginning. A new era was dawning, one where cooperation replaced exploitation, where diversity was valued, not used, where no species would be forced to serve another's interests. As a diplomat, Eleanor had spent her career finding common ground between different nations on Earth. Now she would do the same between different worlds across the stars. The challenges would be enormous, the differences far greater than anything she had faced before. But watching the new council members working together today, Eleanor felt confident it could be done. Humans had found their place in the galaxy, not through superior technology or military might, but through something just as powerful, the courage to stand up for what was right. "We have a saying on Earth," she told Kree. "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. The old alien nodded. A wise saying. I believe we have just helped it bend a little more. Together they stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars, each one possibly home to new friends, new ideas, new futures in a galaxy suddenly full of hope. The day after Eleanor's challenge, the council headquarters was buzzing with activity. News of Earth's stand against the treaty had spread throughout the station. Aliens of all kinds watched Eleanor with new interest as she walked the hallways. Some looked afraid, others seemed impressed, and a few appeared angry. Eleanor entered a small meeting room where 3 aliens waited for her. They were representatives from worlds that had signed the Resource Allocation Treaty in recent years. Thank you for meeting with me, Eleanor said, taking a seat. The first alien, a tall being with smooth gray skin and large eyes, spoke first. I am Representative Dahl of Eridan Prime. Your presentation yesterday was disturbing. If what you showed is true, our world has been deceived. The evidence is solid, Eleanor said. We can share all our data with you. The second alien, who looked like a cross between a lizard and an insect, clicked its mandibles. I am Sector Leader Vix of the Trell Hives. We signed the treaty 20 years ago. Already our main continent has been stripped of minerals. Our people struggle to feed themselves while the mining companies take everything. That matches the pattern we found, Eleanor nodded. Has your government tried to renegotiate? The third alien, a floating ball of translucent blue with several eye stalks, bobbed up and down sadly. I am Voice Morel of the Foe Collective. When we complained about excessive mining, our system's defense grid was shut down. We were told it was a technical issue. 3 days later, pirates attacked our main spaceport. After that, we stopped complaining. Eleanor leaned forward. What if you had support? What if multiple worlds stood together? The 3 aliens exchanged looks. Dahl spoke again. The Geliacs and Muraden control too much. They have the most advanced fleets, the best weapons. But they're not the majority, Eleanor pointed out. There are hundreds of species in the council. If enough unite. Voice Morel's eye stalks waved, with excitement. You think it's possible? I do. Earth has already contacted 12 worlds in similar situations. With your 3, that makes 15. And if we can prove the corruption to the older council members, we might gain their support too. Sector Leader Vix clicked thoughtfully. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador Wright? A new alliance. One based on fair trade and true cooperation. No hidden clauses, no exploitation. Equal benefits for all members. The aliens discussed among themselves in their own languages. Finally, Dahl turned back to Eleanor. We will bring your proposal to our governments. But we must be careful. The Geliacs have spies everywhere. Understood, Eleanor said. In the meantime, Earth will continue gathering evidence and allies. After the meeting, Eleanor was approached by an ancient-looking alien. It was Eldest Cree, the archivist who had confirmed the validity of the right of evidential challenge. Ambassador. Right, he wheezed, his pale blue skin almost transparent with age. May I speak with you privately? Eleanor followed him to a small library filled with actual physical books and scrolls, a rarity in the digital age of the Galactic Council. What you did yesterday was brave, Cree said once they were alone, and long overdue. The Council has not been what it was meant to be for thousands of years. What was it meant to be? Eleanor asked. Cree pulled an old scroll from a shelf. It was written in an alien script Eleanor couldn't read. This is one of the original founding documents, he explained. Created 15,000 years ago when the Council was formed. It speaks of unity, mutual aid, and respect for all sentient life. Very different from today's reality. What happened? Power happened. Greed happened. Cree sighed. The Geliacs were once a noble species, but over thousands of years their society changed. They became obsessed with expansion and control. When they allied with the Muraden 5,000 years ago, the balance of power shifted dramatically. And no one challenged them? Eleanor asked. Some tried. The 3 species you mentioned in your presentation were not the only ones to disappear after refusing council demands. Cree's voice dropped to a whisper. There were dozens more over the millennia. Eleanor felt a chill run down her spine. How could they get away with that? Slowly, carefully. One small change to the rules at a time. One disappeared species blamed on natural disaster or internal conflict. Most council members are too afraid to speak up, and those who aren't afraid are often bribed. But you kept the old laws, the original charter. Kree's eyes sparkled. Yes, my species lives a very long time. I remember what the council once was. I hoped someday someone would be brave enough to use those old laws against the corruption. Will you help us? Eleanor asked. Your knowledge could be invaluable. I will, the old alien nodded. But we must move quickly. Vrax and Tal Shir will not sit idle after yesterday's humiliation. Back on Earth, Kyle Reeves and Olivia Daniels were working around the clock. Their small team had expanded to include diplomats, lawyers, and military advisors. They were analyzing everything they knew about the Galactic Council and preparing for whatever might come next. Look at this, Olivia said, pointing to her screen. It showed a star map with several points, highlighted. These are the worlds Eleanor's contacted so far. If they all join our alliance, we'd control nearly 20% of the trade routes in this sector. Kyle nodded. That's significant. But the Ziliacs still have the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. If they decide to use force, that's why we need more allies, said a new voice. They turned to see Admiral Frank Martinez entering the room. The Admiral was a tall, stern man with gray hair and sharp eyes. Ambassador Wright's doing great diplomatic work, Martinez continued. But we need to prepare for the worst. The Arcturians have shared some of their defensive technology with us as a gesture of good faith. We're implementing it now. Do you think it will come to war? Olivia asked worriedly. I hope not, Martinez replied. But in my experience, those in power rarely give it up willingly. At that moment, Kyle's computer beeped with an urgent message. It's from Eleanor, he said, opening it. His face grew serious as he read. The Ziliacs are moving warships to the edge of our solar system. They claim it's just a routine patrol, but Eleanor's sources say otherwise. Martinez's jaw tightened. How long until they reach Earth? At their current speed, 4 days. That's not much time, Olivia said, her voice tense. No, it's not, agreed Martinez. But it might be enough. Tell Ambassador Wright to push ahead with the alliance. We'll handle things here. Back at the council headquarters, Eleanor received the news about the Ziliac ships with concern, but not surprise. She had expected some kind of retaliation, but she hadn't expected what happened next. As she was preparing for a meeting with more potential allies, her door chime rang. When she opened it, she found Ambassador Tal Shir standing there alone. May I come in? The cat-like alien asked. His usual smooth confidence seemed diminished. Eleanor hesitated, then nodded. Briefly. Once inside, Tal Shir spoke in a low voice. What I'm about to tell you could get me killed, but I believe it's necessary. I'm listening, Eleanor said cautiously. High Counselor Vrax has ordered a fleet to your system. Officially it's a patrol, but their true orders are to blockade Earth and force your government to sign the treaty. Why, are you telling me this? Eleanor asked. Tal Shir's whiskers twitched. Because Vrax plans to double-cross the Midaraden too. He's making deals with other species behind our backs. The alliance between our peoples is crumbling. So this is about saving your own position? The alien's ears flattened. Partly, yes, but also because what you said yesterday, about fairness, about transparency, it reminded me of things I learned as a cub. Values my species once held dear. Eleanor studied him carefully, trying to determine if he was sincere. What exactly are you offering? Information, support in the council, and this. He handed her a small data device. It contains evidence of Ziliac's involvement in the disappearance of those 3 species you mentioned, and others. Eleanor took the device, her eyes widening. This could change everything. Use it wisely, Tal Shir said, moving toward the door. And when the new order comes, remember who helped when it mattered. After he left, Eleanor immediately contacted Earth with the new information. She also reached out to all the allies they had gathered so far. The next council session would be crucial. With the evidence from Tal Shir and support from more species, they might be able to stop the Galactic fleet before it reached Earth. The pieces were moving on the galactic chessboard. The next few days would determine the fate not just of Earth, but potentially of the entire council. Eleanor felt the weight of responsibility, but also a surge of determination. Humanity had faced impossible odds before and survived. They would do so again. Eleanor followed Ambassador Tal Shir down a long hallway after the council session ended. The cat-like alien moved with grace. His fur was golden with black spots, and his large green eyes seemed to watch everything. "Humans are quite interesting," said Tal Shir as they walked. "You've developed faster than most species. From your first flight to space travel in less than a century, most races take 300 or 400 years to do that." "We are curious by nature," Eleanor replied carefully. They entered a small meeting room with a round table and several chairs of different shapes and sizes. A window showed the stars outside. Tal Shir gestured to a chair that looked made for humans. "Please sit. Would you like a drink? We have synthesized some of your Earth beverages." Eleanor sat down but shook her head. "No, thank you. I prefer to keep a clear head during negotiations." Tal Shir's whiskers twitched in what might have been a smile. "Smart. Very smart. You are not like the other new species we usually deal with." He sat across from her and placed a small device on the table. It projected a hologram of the solar system. "Let me explain why the Resource Allocation Treaty is so important," he said. "Your system has resources we need. Minerals on your asteroid belt, gases in your outer planets, things that are very valuable to us." Eleanor nodded. "And what exactly does Earth get in return?" "Technology, medical advances, faster than light travel, things that would take your people centuries to develop on your own." "If the deal is so, good. Why the rush?" Eleanor asked. "And why is High Counselor Vrak so angry about our caution?" Tal Shir's ears flattened against his head for a moment. "Vrax represents the old powers. The Galactic Confederacy has controlled the Council for 10,000 years. They don't like change." He leaned forward. "But there's something you should know, Ambassador Wright. Something not in the official treaty." Eleanor felt a chill run down her spine. "What's that?" "Your species is unique. Your genetic diversity is unlike anything we've seen. Most species have very limited genetic variation. But humans..." He waved, a clawed hand. "Humans have so much potential." "Potential for what?" Eleanor asked, her voice steady despite her growing unease. "Biological adaptation, disease resistance, physical endurance. The treaty includes provisions for limited biological sampling of Earth's population." Eleanor kept her face neutral, but inside she felt sick. They didn't just want Earth's minerals. They wanted humans themselves. "That isn't mentioned in the document we received," she said. Tal Shir's whiskers twitched again. "It's in the appendices. Very standard procedure." "I'll need to review those appendices carefully," Eleanor said. "Of course. But remember, the deadline is approaching. High Counselor Vrax is not known for his patience. Back on Earth, Kyle Reeves hadn't slept in 24 hours. He had been digging through the alien database looking for any information about species that had refused to sign the Resource Allocation Treaty. "That's weird," he muttered to himself. Olivia looked up from her own work. "What did you find?" "According to these records, 17 species have been admitted to the Council in the last 500 years. All of them signed the treaty except for 3. "What happened to those 3? Olivia asked. Kyle frowned. "They're not listed anywhere else in the database. It's like they disappeared." Olivia came over to look at his screen. "Could they have gone extinct naturally? 3 separate species, all after refusing to sign? That's one hell of a coincidence." Kyle opened another file. "I've been looking at star charts too. The treaty gives mining rights to the entire solar system, not just uninhabited planets. That includes Earth." Olivia's face paled. "They could mine Earth itself?" According to the fine print, yes. If they determine there are critical resources needed by the Council. We need to warn Eleanor, said Olivia. But how? All communications to the Council headquarters go through their systems. Kyle thought for a moment. Wait, remember that Arcturian scientist who seemed friendly, Dr. Zex? Maybe he could help us send a message. Olivia nodded slowly. It's worth a try. I'll contact him right away. Dr. Zex was nervous when they met him in a small coffee shop near the Pentagon. The blue-skinned alien kept looking around as if afraid of being watched. What you ask is dangerous, he said quietly after they explained their concerns. The Council monitors all communications. But you agree something isn't right about this treaty? Kyle asked. Dr. Zex's large eyes blinked rapidly. I am a scientist, not a politician. But yes, I have seen what happens to worlds after they sign. It is not equal exchange. Will you help us? Olivia asked. The alien was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out a small device from his pocket. This can send a message through a different channel. They won't detect it. But be brief. You can only send text, no images. Kyle quickly typed out everything they had discovered. The missing species, the mining rights, the biological sampling. He added a warning. Don't sign anything. Request full review of all appendices, looking for loopholes in Council law. Dr. Zex took the device. Back. I will send this right away. But be careful. The Zhiliacs do not like those who interfere with their plans. The next morning, Eleanor Wright was called to an emergency council session. As she entered the chamber, she could feel the tension in the air. High Counselor Vrax stood at the center platform, his red skin seeming even darker with anger. Ambassador Wright, he said as soon as she took her seat. The deadline for Earth's signature on the Resource Allocation Treaty was today. We have received no document. Eleanor stood up. High Counselor, Earth respectfully requests an extension. We are still reviewing the full treaty, including all appendices which were only recently made available to us. Vrax's eyes narrowed. Extensions are not granted for simple formalities. The treaty is standard for all new worlds. Then perhaps the standard should be reconsidered, Eleanor said calmly. My government has concerns about several provisions. The chamber erupted in whispers. Vrax slammed his hand on the podium. This is unacceptable. If Earth refuses to sign, there will be consequences. From across the chamber, Tal Shear stood up. Perhaps I can help resolve this situation. Ambassador Wright, would you join me for another private discussion? We may find a compromise. Eleanor nodded. I would be glad to listen to any reasonable proposal. As she followed Tal Shear out of the chamber, she felt her secure communicator vibrate in her pocket. Someone had sent her a message through the special channel she had set up before leaving Earth, a channel only 5 people knew about. She would read it before meeting with Tal Shear. Something told her it might contain exactly the information she needed.